The dusty Nevada sun beat down on the sprawling shooting range, its heat shimmering above the rows of targets set. At varying distances, Emily Carver adjusted her bowl cap and squinted down the scope of her rifle. She had been coming here every Saturday for 3 years, but today something felt different. The air carried a stillness, not the usual chatter of hobbyists, not the clatter of shell casings hitting the concrete. She loaded another round, her movement smooth and economical. It wasn't for show. Emily didn't like crowds, and she didn't care to impress anyone. This was her sanctuary, her place to quiet the noise of a world she didn't quite fit into. The first shot cracked through the air, a tight grouping. The second followed, then a third, each punching a hole into the bullseye with surgical precision. Emily didn't celebrate. She simply adjusted for wind, breathing, and drop small corrections her body made without thought. Dash, dash, dash. The quiet observer. At the far edge of the range, a man in a faded navy cap stood, with his arms folded. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were locked on Emily. His hair was close-cropped, his jawline square, and there was a certain stillness about him that screamed discipline. This was Commander Nathan Hawkraw, a decorated Navy SEAL with 20 years of service. He was in Nevada, visiting an old friend who owned a range he had seen dozens of shooters in his life, some good, some exceptional, but something about the woman at Lane 12 caught his eye. Her form was textbook, perfect, but more than that, it was instinctive. She wasn't following range rules like a trained soldier would. She was following rules her body already knew. There was no hesitation, no wasted motion, no need for second shots. He watched as she shifted from prone to kneeling, then standing, all while keeping her rifle steady in her grouping impossibly tight. He could tell she wasn't military. Her stance had traces of civilian casualness, but she was close. Dash, dash, dash. The whispered past. Emily didn't know anyone was watching. In her mind, she was back in her childhood home in Montana, lying in the grass with her father's old Winchester. Her father, Jack Carver, had been a quiet man, a veteran who never spoke much about his service. Instead, he taught Emily the language of the wind, the patience of breath control, and the discipline of one clean shot. He passed away when she was 17, leaving her a single memento, his custom-mule sniper rifle. Emily didn't fully understand why it mattered so much to him until she found an old faded photo hidden in the rifle case. Her father, younger in desert camo, standing with a squad of men whose faces were shadowed out. Only one word was written on the back. Fallujah, dash, dash, dash. The tester, range owner Marcus approached Emily after she'd reloaded for another round. Hey, Em, he said casually. Mind if someone joins you for a bit? Guy's just visiting. Says he wants to try a new rifle. Emily shrugged. Sure. Nathan Raw walked up with the easy confidence of someone used to commanding attention. He placed a rifle bag on the bench, but instead of unpacking it, he nodded toward her target. Mind if I watch you run through a set? Emily narrowed her eyes slightly, but didn't answer. She simply set up again, dialed in the next target, a steel plate at 800 yards, and fired. The metallic ping echoed faintly across the field. She repeated it at 1,000 yards. Same result. Nathan's lips twitched in something close to a smile. Ever served? He asked. No, Emily said, flatly, checking her chamber. Ever thought about it? She looked at him. Not my world. Dash, dash, dash. The impossible shot. Nathan motioned toward a small dark shape on the far hill. nearly 1,400 yards away. It was a target most shooters here didn't bother with. Too far, too much wind drift, and barely visible without a scope dialed. Perfectly. Bet you can't hit it in one. Shot, he said casually. Emily arched a brow. Bet you're wrong. She adjusted her scope, calculated the wind in her head, then slowed her breathing until the world narrowed to her crosshays and the faint glint of the steel plate. The trigger pull was a whisper, the recoil a small kick against the shoulder. Half a heartbeat later, the ping rang out, distant but clear. Nathan didn't react at first. Then he gave a short, approving nod. You ever hear of the name Carver? Emily's hand froze. Why? Because I served with a man named Jack Carver, Nathan said quietly. Best sniper I ever met. Her throat tightened. He was my father. Dash, dash, dash. The revelation. Nathan's eyes softened just slightly. That explains it. He saved my life in Fallujah. Never told me he had a kid who could outshoot half my squad. Emily didn't know what to say. She'd never met anyone who had fought beside her father. Never heard stories beyond his careful silence. Nathan looked around, then stepped closer, lowering his voice. Your father wasn't just a good shot. He was the kind of soldier who changed missions. We had a rooftop overwatch. Position pinned down. I was out of ammo. Enemy was closing in. He took a 1,500-yard shot through a dust storm and neutralized the threat. Afterward, he just said, wind's tricky today. That was Jack Carver. Dash, 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 the salute. Emily was quiet for a long moment. Nathan studied her face, the way she seemed to be holding back a storm of emotions. Finally, she picked up her rifle again and sent another round. Downrange, the sound echoing across the hills. Nathan stepped back, then without a word, brought his hand sharply to his brow in a crisp salute. Emily blinked. What are you doing? Honoring the best shot I've seen since your father, Nathan said simply. It's not something I hand out lightly around them. A few other shooters had paused, sensing something significant, but not fully understanding it. Dash, dash, dash. The offer, Nathan lowered his hand. There's a training facility about 2 hours from here. Not military, private. They take civilians for special marksmanship programs. With your skill, you could break records, maybe even compete internationally. Emily shook her head. That's not why I shoot. Then do it for your father. Nathan said quietly, the way you hold that rifle, you're carrying his legacy, whether you want or not. Emily's gaze dropped to the worn steel of the rifle's barrel. For the first time, she wondered if maybe this was more than a weekend hobby. Maybe this was a piece of her that she hadn't fully claimed yet. Dash, dash, dash. One last shot. They stayed at the range until the sun dipped low, turning the Nevada sky to fire. Nathan set up a final challenge. 2 targets, both over 1,200 yards, but positioned so that the shooter had to hit both in under 5 seconds to compensate for shifting winds. Emily didn't hesitate. The first shot hit dead center. She adjusted, fired again. Another ping. Nathan smiled faintly. I'll take that as a yes. Emily just smirked. Don't get ahead of yourself. But deep down, she knew she'd be showing up to that training facility soon. Not for fame, not for records, just to see how far she could push the name Carver. And as Nathan walked away, hands in his pockets, he felt a rare sense of certainty. The world hadn't seen the last of Emily Carver. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that inspire.